Today is a Shaun short episode of Always Another Game podcast where we go inside my mind to share something I've learned recently or telling a story from my professional playing days in ice hockey. And today I want to talk to you about numbers. Now, I've never been a numbers guy. Struggled with it with maths and counting, and never been massively into numbers financially, anything at all. I used to copy at maths, but I was very good at copying. So the other person actually got blamed for copying, not me. I remember I worked at Legoland once and they asked me to go out on the drinks cart around the park. And obviously that meant I was giving them a drink and they were giving me money and I had to work out change. That not only terrified me, but when somebody then said, "Oh, I've got the 5p," I would freeze. I would absolutely freeze in that moment. As simple as that answer is of, here's your 5p and here's your pound back or whatever it is. I couldn't, my brain would just stop in that moment. But I'm not talking as such about money and financially today. I want to relate this to more so to sport to business, and something that I've noticed through this challenging time, past year or so, for a lot of businesses. Some haven't survived, some are hanging on by a thread, some are growing. But we do often in business get caught up in numbers. How many followers have you got? How many comments have you got? How many people viewed your post last week? Or I've had this X amount earned this month. And I get it. I do get numbers are important. They're great to see trends. There'll be people out there that will almost go as far to say as they are essential. But I guess one of the reasons maybe why I don't just look at the numbers, and I think a lot of that is to do with my sporting background. Even from a very, very young age. In ice hockey, it's not a huge sport in the UK. It's pretty decent. It's pretty well followed, but it's not massive. So especially at a junior level over here, a lot of teams will have a handful of really good players, and then the rest are there to have fun and maybe just are okay or good. But they often rely, unless it's changed recently, but this was when I was growing up, you heavily relied on those few players to win you a game. Now, you could score 5 goals, but you'd lose 8-5. And this can happen at senior level as well. I see it a lot. A lot of people focus on the numbers, and they often then become selfish, and it can affect the team. But what we have to remember in sport, especially, and I'll go into business in a second, is there's other ways to contribute. So, for instance, in sport, yes, you may have a goal scorer, but sometimes they have to have somebody setting them up. My mum always used to say to me, assists are better than, goal scoring, because without the assists, you don't score as many goals. We could be talking about block shots. We could be talking about defensive plays, goalkeepers. We could be talking about the person that doesn't get much game time, but is around the team because of their energy and their attitude. And actually, their presence is so positive that it brings you out of the darkest games and the darkest times, because that person is just there to see other people be happy and thrive. So there is so many ways you can win in sport, and often the best teams have all of those little details. They don't just have X amount of players that can score goals, because it won't work, because you might score 7, but you'll lose 10-7 because you haven't got the defense, the goalie, the team ethic, the hard work. It will fall to pieces. So if you just look at numbers and only kind of like financial numbers or something in business, you can be missing pieces. Because I said, for a lot of businesses in this time, it has been tough financially. But you have to have a look at other areas. So for me, one of my biggest telltale signs that things are going well is that my current clients are doing well. If they're struggling, now I've got an issue. Okay. But current clients could be doing well, that you're coaching or you're doing their content or something for. It could be just personal growth, that you are getting more followers and in engaging conversations. You may be getting more DMs. You may be enjoying, you may be learning something new. You may be learning about sales, marketing, copywriting. you can't focus on one area in life, in parenting, in sport, and business, because there's always multiple ones going on. So growth always isn't an indication of money. There may be other areas that you are growing as an individual, growing as a team. And I briefly touched on a second there that I have seen adults in sport focus very hard on their own individual efforts. I remember playing in one team where we brought a goalie on late in the season, a fantastic goalie. He did a post on social media. It was I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was very much about him. And the team that we were on at the time was one of the biggest teams I'd played in. Like, it was a team effort, a team response. And the goalie quickly got removed. The coach wasn't standing, the players, their leadership group wasn't standing for the individual mindset. And that's how simple it was to remove potentially something that could have spread and got a lot worse, because I've played in many teams with fantastic players that have brought the rest down because they've only been focusing on the numbers. I need to score another goal. That will get me my contract next season, which, yes, that is true. That does happen. But after a while, certain coaches and certain teams won't touch you, and they're the ones that are often the most successful ones. So, the ultimate goal is each year in sport, you win the league, the tournament. You want to achieve that highest of heights, that gold medal, whatever it is. You want to achieve it. And to do that, there are other aspects. There are other aspects that become important, and it isn't just the numbers. As I spoke about a few times on here, I've got involved in grassroots football. I'm coaching my boys' football team, and I am learning so much along the way at the moment. And, we look at it as the ultimate goal for them isn't scoring goals and winning. That's part of the fun. The main focus is, again, all of the other stuff around the outside, that they are becoming great athletes, that if they decide to go and play another sport, they're more than capable of doing so because they've become good athletes. They're going to grow up to be fantastic humans. A part of coaching at youth level is helping them develop as a person and kind of, making sure that they enjoy playing the sport. If they are drilled into them that winning is the only option, then likelihood is eventually they're going to lose. I do believe winning is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep scoring football. But ultimately, it's for them and it's not for us as adults. So hopefully you're now starting to see the picture that if we just have our blinkers on and focusing on one area, it can be very damaging. We could be limited to what's possible, or we could be very negative that things are going well. So for instance, in business, if your finances are down, yet there is a growth of your personal brand, you're starting to have more conversations, your clients, or, you're starting to get great feedback about your product. Maybe your reviews have gone up, or they're being more specific. So many ways to see success. And one of my biggest wake-up calls on the number side, I was having my best goal-scoring season that I ever did in hockey. And quite often in sport, you have coaches meetings, they call you in and they talk to you. And, one of the first things they'll say is, how do you think everything's going? And at this time, I was top goal scorer. Literally, it was one of those seasons where everything I touched turned to gold. I'm not exaggerating. When I was shooting, it was effortless. It was fun. And I was scoring. And I said, how do you everything's going? And, I said, as I said to you just then, and both of them, the coach and the assistant coach, goes, you're not yourself. You're not working hard. You are not playing your sentiment role very well. You're not in the defensive zone. You're waiting for the attack. You're not helping your team. Oh, was I grounded very, very quickly in that meeting. And I do remember being a little bit shocked, but at the same time going, actually, that makes sense. I think deep down, I knew I wasn't playing to my potential and what I was capable of doing. I deep down, I knew there was an element of selfishness there, that I was just chasing more goals, which was great personally, but it wasn't helping my team. It wasn't giving us a chance to win games and move on. So I had to adapt very quickly, because there is so much more to parenting than just cooking a dinner and putting them to bed at a certain time. There's so much more to business than hitting a certain financial figure. If you're hitting a financial figure, but you're burnt out, tired, you hate work, you're unhealthy, what's the point? If you're in sport and you're scoring goals, but the rest of the team hates you because you're not thinking about other people within that team and how your goals can help that team and how you can help them in other ways, the cracks will start to show very quickly. So you can be a numbers person, and that's absolutely fine. I do watch, I mentioned there a couple of times, I see personal brand growth by my following, my connections, my engagement, that they all have to come together. If you gain followers but engagement drops, not working. Your wrong people are coming in. So it is important to see it. I didn't want to be scoring goals or not scoring goals and then not contributing in other ways. There is so many pieces to this puzzle. And I just want you to look outside the box a little bit more rather than just being so focused on certain numbers and getting stuck or frustrated or stressed at the same time. Hopefully that's helped you see the light and just given you some food for thought today. If it did, brilliant. I'd love to have a review on any of the platforms that you may be listening in on. Just click and let me know what you think. If you know somebody who needed to hear this, please send it their way. Just a little copy link, send it in a little WhatsApp, and let's say you need to hear this today. Let them have a listen, because my goal with this podcast is just to help one person from this episode. So thank you to everybody that tuned in today. And remember, there is always another game. Take care, everyone.